In the quiet town of Willow Creek, nestled between rolling hills and dense forests, life had always been peaceful and predictable. The townsfolk knew each other by name, and the biggest excitement was the annual fall festival. But all that changed one fateful night when the dead decided to rise. It began with a series of strange occurrences. People reported hearing eerie whispers in the dead of night, and shadows that seemed to move on their own. At first, the townsfolk dismissed these as mere figments of imagination, perhaps fueled by too much moonshine. But then the disappearances started. Sarah Thompson, a young nurse at the local clinic, was the first to go missing. Her car was found abandoned by the side of the road, the door slightly ajar. The town was abuzz with rumors, but no one could find any trace of her. The police wrote it off as a possible kidnapping, but the lack of ransom demands, or any leads, left everyone uneasy. A few days later, the town's butcher, Mr. Jenkins, failed to open his shop. When the sheriff and a few deputies went to check on him, they found the door barricaded from the inside. As they broke it down, they were met with a sight that would haunt them forever. Mr. Jenkins lay on the floor, his body mutilated in a way that suggested something far more terrifying than a human attacker. His eyes were wide open, staring at nothing, and his mouth was frozen in a silent scream. The sheriff called for backup, and soon the town was swarming with officers. But it was already too late. The infection had spread. People who had been perfectly fine one moment were collapsing the next, only to rise again with a hunger that could only be satisfied by human flesh. The streets of Willow Creek became a nightmare, filled with the groans and shuffling footsteps of the undead. The town's doctor, Dr. Harris, tried to find a cure, but he was soon overwhelmed. The virus was unlike anything he had ever seen, spreading rapidly through bites and scratches. Panic set in as the townsfolk realized that there was nowhere to run. The zombies were everywhere, their once familiar faces now twisted into grotesque parodies of humanity. In the midst of the chaos, a small group of survivors banded together. There was Emily, a schoolteacher who had always been the voice of reason, Jake, a mechanic with a knack for fixing anything, and Lisa, a single mother who was determined to protect her young son, Tommy. They barricaded themselves in the town's old church, hoping to find some semblance of safety. But the zombies were relentless. They clawed at the doors and windows, their hunger driving them forward. Emily tried to keep everyone calm, but it was hard when the walls were shaking and the screams of the dying filled the air. Jake worked tirelessly to reinforce the church, but he knew it was only a matter of time before the zombies broke through. As the night wore on, they heard a new sound. It was the roar of an engine, growing louder and louder. Hope surged through the group as they realized that someone had come to rescue them. But when they looked out the window, their hearts sank. It was a truck, but it was filled with more zombies, their bodies piled high. The truck crashed into the church, and the zombies poured in. Emily grabbed Tommy and ran, hoping to find a way out. Jake fought off the zombies with a crowbar, but he was soon overwhelmed. Lisa was bitten, and as she fell, she whispered to Tommy, "Run, sweetheart. Run and never look back." Emily and Tommy made it outside, but the town was a wasteland. The zombies were everywhere, their eyes glowing with a malevolent hunger. Emily knew they had to leave Willow Creek, to find a place where they could be safe. But as they ran, they realized that the infection had spread far beyond their town. The world as they knew it was gone, replaced by a nightmare where the dead walked and the living could only hope to survive. And so the horror of Willow Creek spread, a chilling reminder that sometimes the monsters we fear the most are the ones that were once our neighbors, our friends, and our family.